Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
In to hear the colors and see the music. I'm your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed, and today is Friday the 13th. Shout out to Freddie. It is a beautiful November 13th, and hope everyone had a good week out there. This is the Octorian Starseed broadcasting live from Boca Raton, Florida. We have an amazing show lined up for you. As always, we'll be joined in just a minute by Joel and also Phillip from Angel News Network doing news from a 5D perspective. But before we get started, first check out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. And also, if you want to stay current with space weather, news trackers, as well as earthquake and volcano activity, check out starseedradio.com. Well, we have some really cool and also we have 2 Twitter feeds. Information, fill out the form on Starseed to use some free energy information. There's a little form again, Starseed Technologies, or you can call us toll free. At that, the one last website to give out is starseedgold.com. This is talking about the new gold back exchange system where you can open up a free gold account today. Again, you could also call our toll-free number 888-400-2328 to get more information on that. We've had several guests on over the last month. It's an amazing new system, so please check that out. That's starseedgold.com. Put in your information, watch the video, and contact us if you have any questions. But first, we're going to get the guys from the Angel News Network. And with that, we're going to start with our daily quote. Soft-hearted people are not fools. They know what people did to them, but they forgive again and again because they have beautiful hearts. True that. That quote by our very own Spirit Science, not our very own, but a friend of mine, Jordan. Shout out to Spirit Science. Great quote. I'll post it up on starseedradio.com. Now we're going to go over some news and updates to go over what has been happening in the world this week. Lots of things happening, talking about earth changes as well as some breaking news in the headlines. But first, let's get the guys from Angel News Network on board. Let's see if they're here. We had them. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but we'll see if we could patch them in. We've been seeing a lot of news this week, talking about Syria, Russia, all over the world. Also talking about some natural disasters that has also happened. Fukushima popping up in the news again. There's also lots of dead animals washing up on the shores again. Some of these articles we've been covering for a long time, so things to pay attention to. Extreme radiation on California beach leads in nuclear inspectors to abandon duties. Waste threatens locals. Now, this is obviously coming from Fukushima. So this is an article and a story we've been covering for years now on the show. It's back. I'm going to try to Skype them in right now. Let's see if we can get Joel and Phillip on the line. Let's see if we're getting to them. All right. We're going to patch them in right here.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, Phillip and Joel. How are you?
Good. We kind of lost contact with you there, Jonah.
Yeah, no problem. We had a little technical difficulty. So I'm just going to jump into some news and updates. We're talking about Fukushima, which is back in the news again this week. And I'll go over some more headlines, then I'll turn it over to you, Joel, and also Phillip. So also some headlines besides Fukushima that has been up in talks for years now. We also had seen a big UFO sighting in California. Now, this UFO sighting in California was seen by Neil, who was on the show on Wednesday. It was a spiral portal that opened up and looked like some plasma came through. We also had NASA talk about this week how they also have observed a plasma blast from a black hole, which has never been seen before. So we had some exciting developments this week with spirals, black holes, and things and entities or ships or something coming through these black holes. So if you just Google or YouTube in California, you will see some of the amazing videos and stories. Now, of course, the U.S. said, "Oh, well, that's a missile," and made up a story. But there was many different people that saw the sighting and had reported the sighting, so there's lots of videos and news out there. So check that out on YouTube and also on Google before they take all of the stories down, but amazing pictures and sightings. Now, they said the U.S. was a thermonuclear missile launch near Los Angeles, and that is what they're reporting. U.S., China, and Russia are all escalating covert attacks and run up to global war. Now, that's what some analysts are spectating. Most of the people that I spoke to and from what I saw was definitely an ET encounter, but we'll see what the Angel News Network says from a higher perspective in just a minute. So, of course, the U.S. says it's a missile. We know it's probably something greater than that. We do see a buildup. We've been talking about Syria with China and Russia coming together. Syria is more of a battleground for the U.S. and the three of them. We see this buildup, so it's definitely been in the talks. And now we see this huge sighting, which thousands and thousands of people saw up in the air. Also, another article, we had Fukushima big this week, the UFO sighting, NASA with the black hole. And now, another story, Detroit Public Schools, 93% can't do math, but 100% will be allowed to vote. And this article goes on to say, at the time of our nation's founding, not everyone could vote. Women were denied the right, as were African Americans, Native Americans, and anyone else considered a non-citizen. Most of those who voted at the time of the Constitution ratification were white males. So this article really is showing what's happening in our educational system. I mean, 93% can't read. It's unbelievable. 96% can't do math. So this article is a proof in the pudding that we need a new type of educational system, an educational system that is really geared towards creativity and other things, not left brain thinking, as well as changing our school structures. So there are some top stories right there of the week. I'm going to turn it over to Joel and also from Phillip from Angel News Network, where they come on every Friday and give us a higher 5D perspective. Phillip opens up and channels higher entities which come through and relay information, knowledge, and wisdom to us in a way that Joel asked the questions to relate to what the news stories were this week and see how it is on the other side. So with that, Joel and Phillip, thank you for joining us. I'll turn it over to you.
This is Joel. Let me first ask you, can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in clear.
Okay, because you were coming and going, so I got to confess I did not get all the stories, but we will go with what we got here. Phillip will go into trance now, and he thinks it's going to be the Galactic Federation, so let's see who shows up.
Okay, great.
Greetings, beloved humans. We come to you at the Galactic Federation at this time of ascension and change and shifting within and upon your planet, dear ones. You're involved in the last 2,000 year cycle of your planet, which began on your 2012, 12, dear ones. And from that point on, an energetic process of ascension has begun to move you back from a dense carbon existence to a crystalline light-bodied existence from which you came. You were created from love and light, dear ones, and you are destined to return to that. That has been guided, and it's being guided by the process of the planet you have chosen to be home. You all came here as a result of a 12-star-seeded system, dear ones. So here we are on your so-called Friday the 13th. What exactly does this cosmically mean, dear ones? You were seeded by 12 different star systems. We're on a show that is led by the Arcturian system, balancing the masculine and feminine energy. Your Stargate is Sirian, Palladian, Lyrian. There are many, many star systems that are involved with your evolutionary process. So from that 12 systems, dear one, what 13 means for you is you will become the 13th star. You are in the process of moving from the 12 star seeds that you are and that have seeded your planet to becoming the 13th. So this misnomer of Friday the 13th being something unlucky is exactly the opposite of what the 13th really represents. It is your true divine destiny, dear ones. There are many, many cosmic and planetary activities, energetic activities, portal activities, vortices activities taking place on your planet to assist this evolutionary process of moving into a higher state of consciousness from the relationship with self, me being a reflection of all there is, having that loving relationship self mirror out into a we unified consciousness, into the ability to create a world of equality, harmony, and balance. As you look at your world, you're beginning to see a process of creating equality, harmony, and balance. The foundation of that, along with your 12 star systems, is the masculine and feminine energies seated within your planets, which you're in a process of balancing. The assertive masculine energy and the receptive feminine energy. The lack of being able to do this, dear ones, which has created your duality, your separation, and often your confrontations and wars. So with that introduction, let us begin dealing with your headlines and your news briefs of the day and further elaborate. How shall we help you, dear ones?
Well, thank you for joining us. You've already kind of touched on a couple things, but before I go into any of the individual subjects, just for our audience, could you just tell us very briefly, what is the Galactic Federation?
You are part of a galaxy that you call the Milky Way. Within it, dear ones, there are billions of solar systems and suns, not unlike your own. We are a federation, a council representing all of the life forms within this particular galaxy. We interface with the inner Earth civilizations in your planet, the archangelic forces, the star seeds that seeded your planet. We work in concert supporting the evolutionary process of this divine experiment called planet Earth. We within this galaxy are looking at you and with you in a loving, brotherly, sisterly format. For you are a divine experiment, a loviversity, if you will, to bring what you have learned through the process of being human on this particular planet out into your solar system, Father, out into your galaxy, and for some of you, even beyond, dear one. Does that help you?
It does. Now, you were discussing the significance of 13. Now, some of our audience will have heard this information for the first time. You said that Earth was seeded by 12 star systems and that the Earth was on its way to becoming the 13th star.
Yes.
What is the significance of the Earth becoming a star? That's new information for many people.
That is the destiny of all planets, dear one. As you look up into the night sky and you see your stars, imagine that they have gone through a planetary evolution, not unlike what you are going through on this particular planet, although each of them has a unique mission within themselves. Does that help you?
Well, it does. And you said that we're on our way to having equality, harmony, and balance in our cultures. We seem to be so far away from that. You heard Jonah talking about the conflict. You mentioned Syria and the rising conflict between China and the United States. And just listening to our debates here in the United States, there's anything but equality and harmony. So what would you say about how we're doing on our journey?
Well, actually, dear ones, it's the best it's ever been. It appears worse because you're aware of it through the technologies and the communication system that have been gifted to you.
Okay, so you're saying it's better than ever, even though to us it seems like we're riddled with a lot of conflict and killing.
It is a clearing and a cleansing through a process of how you have chosen to clear and cleanse and learn what you need to learn, the way you need to learn it through your freedom of choice and freedom of will. Not all planets, not all solar systems, not all galaxies have a factor of freedom of choice and will. This is a gift that has been given to you for you to learn the way you need to learn. The process you're involved now in this incarnational cycle that many of you are involved in now, the billions, the 7, the 8 billions of you that are on the planet now, many of you have been here in many past incarnational cycles. You're here to experience this process. A third of you will complete it. A third of you have no idea what's going on. A third of you will be resistant to it.
What's being cleared and cleansed in the Middle East? They just seem to be continuing age-old conflicts.
An ancient seed from an advanced civilization that originally came to this particular planet. Humanity originated, the original portal for this particular planet was not Africa, it was Tibet, what you call Tibet. Within the region of Tibet and the surrounding areas around it, there are many unhealed ancient wounds, defenses around those wounds that are in the process of being healed. That is why you have so much activity there that you are aware of because of your communication and transportation, which have actually been going on for millennia. It has to do with the origin of how humanity was created originally through the manipulation of the genes of humanity with an advanced civilization in that particular geographical locations of the planet.
Well, what's being healed? I don't see any evidence of that.
What is being healed is the aspects of yourselves which have been shut down. Your higher spiritual chakras, your higher spiritual DNAs, which have been shut down and manipulated by advanced civilizations in order to keep you in control. There are still many forces on the planet that have an ancient origin with no national boundaries, no political boundaries, but they do control the economies and in many ways the coming and goings of your world, dear one.
Well, can you give us a glimpse into the future and tell us what we should be expecting? Because you did say that there's a healing taking place. Is this going to be hundreds of years?
Again, dear ones, you are in the final 2,000-year cycle of your planet. Some of you will complete the mastery of self within this incarnation or the next one. Some of you will choose to take the entire 2,000-year cycle. For those of you who choose not to complete it, you will be given the opportunity through your freedom of choice and freedom of will to do it within another solar system, within this particular galaxy or another galaxy.
So we should take a look at these things in terms of our own individual path. Isn't that what you're saying?
You are each an individuated expression of oneness. Within that, you all have a unique soul plan within that oneness, but the same destination is for all of you, a unified field of we consciousness, in order to be in service to self and allow that to mirror out to all that there is. That is the mission and the purpose of this particular planet, through the forces of love and light, to be in service to a loving, self-empowered self, mirrored out to others within a we consciousness, allowing you to be in world service, planetary service, if you will, solipsistic service, and galactic service, dear ones, within a higher frequency and consciousness of existence.
Jonah alluded to some rumblings about conflict again in the United States. Abraham Lincoln had a very famous dream 150 or so years ago where he saw this great red tide that he interpreted as China coming to invade the United States. I think I got that right, or something like that. Is there anything to the future dangers between conflict between China and the United States that we should be aware of?
Fear, ignorance, and doubt are the monsters of mankind, of humanity. If you look at your own United States histories, you're often creating a boogeyman, where there's what you call Russia or what you now call China. This is the way of the forces who are controlling the planet to keep you in conflict and confusion. Behind the scenes, dear one, what is your mass media news is not always the truth. You have been talking about UFOs and missiles. Dear ones, actually both of them are going on. There's missile testing going on secretly, and there are UFOs coming and going within your planet and upon your planet at all times. These things can be in a cloak of invisibility, the UFOs, or they can be seen, giving humanity peeks that there is something beyond yourselves. You're in the process of raising your consciousness, your vibrational, your frequency existence, in order to really begin allowing yourselves to be within a healthy contact with civilizations more advanced than your own. Ironically enough, you've had advanced civilizations in the past much more advanced than what you're experiencing at this time. But through their disconnect with the higher frequencies which maintain and sustain in them, they lost those civilizations. Some of them went into other frequency, other dimensional formats, fifth, sixth, or seventh dimensional formats, and many of them exist within the core of your planet, on other planets within your solar system, and throughout your galaxy. Civilizations such as Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt, Greek, Aztec, Mayan, Hopi, and many, many others, dear one.
I couldn't hear all of the news items that Jonah was mentioning, but he did allude to the Fukushima nuclear power plant accident that happened a couple of years ago. I don't know exactly what the event is that he was alluding to, but what would you tell us about that whole phenomenon?
The basic wisdom about nuclear energy, dear ones, is humanity is not at a point of knowing how to maintain, sustain, and to contain it by not truly understanding what it is. So you have your scientists with limited wisdom of exactly how this energy is created, dealing with the energy with the limited knowledge that they have, which causes the accidents that you are creating, dear ones. We have given this example before, and we will again. All energy is created through love and light, through a higher consciousness. What humanity chooses to do with that energy, you will through your freedom of choice and freedom of will. Nuclear energy is one of the highest vibrational energy sources that you have discovered thus far on your planet, but it is not the highest one. Through your manipulation of it, in order for it to harm largely or to be controlled by the few to the many, you're creating these accidents. Does that help you, dear one?
Well, it does, and it sounds like we don't fully understand nuclear energy. We can't control it, and yet there are forces that are trying to impose it on us around the world.
Yes, and those same forces wish to create these accidents, wish to create the conflict and the chaos around the axis in order to keep you separated. But actually, it can have a reverse effect. Through what you call accidents, it can be a coming together and a unified support and love through that process as well, dear ones. Imagine what happens when your storms come and the devastation. Not realize these storms are created by the emotions and thoughts that are stored within your atmosphere. When you have something called a nuclear accident, realizing there are no accidents, there is an opportunity for humanity to raise its consciousness and say, are we really advanced enough? Do we have the wisdom to maintain and sustain this particular energy source at this time?
We have about a minute left, Joel. Just like
okay. You've often told us in the past to pay attention where some of these storms are originating and where they land and end up. I heard a report that in the Midwest of the United States we are experiencing more tornadoes than ever. Observation would you make with the
Pay attention to the thoughts, the emotions that emanate from those particular locations. Area of hate, area of separation. That is who they dear one.
So you're saying that the United States the tornadoes that go all the way up to the
Revolutionary Radio with Rob Skibba. Thursdays on Truth Frequency Radio.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
Jedi Master? Yoda. You seek Yoda.
Yoda.
Clear your mind of questions. You must unlearn what you have learned. Jedi's dream flows from the Force. That is the way of things. For my ally is Force, and the powerful God is. Its energy surrounds, and binds us. Luminous being Zoe, not this true matter. You must leave the Force.
All right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Thank you, gentlemen, from the Angel News Network. You can check out the Angel News Network.com. Some more information with Joel and also with Phillip Collins. With that, again, you're listening to Starseed Radio. We're now joined by our special guest, Dr. Joseph Burkes, to give you a formal people to this. There's the Zach Hines CE5 initiative. He left Dr. Gur's group in 1998, but continued investigating the flying saucer phenomenon by working with MUFON and the network of Peruvian contact activists known as RAMA. Dr. Burke is also co-author of a book, Paths to Contact, edited by Jeff Becker, and is on the advisory board of FREE. So a shout out to Mr. Hernandez, which we've spoken to before in the show, and FREE is an amazing foundation as well. So with that, Dr. Burkes, thank you for coming on the show. How are you today?
Very good. I'm in sunny California. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you. So you have a wide background in the UFO and extraterrestrial phenomenon, which is definitely a hot topic, especially after the sightings in California this last week. Have you heard about the big sighting this week, Dr. Burkes?
Yes, I have. I've watched the video and I've read some of the chat about it. And sightings are ongoing all over the planet, and they get harder and harder for the establishment to explain away. Are you hearing me fine? Am I coming through clear?
Yes, you're coming through nice and clear.
Okay. I get excited when I have my own sightings, of course, and I've been having sightings on a regular basis since joining the Contact Network back in 1992. And one of the things that people need to contemplate is that there may not be any such thing as a random sighting. In the process of joining Dr. Greer in 1992, we were both emergency room physicians at the time, and being a team coordinator in the CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind initiative, I developed a consciousness link, as did other members on my team, all of us, with the intelligence behind the phenomena. So when you hear about a person having a UFO sighting, one has to acknowledge the distinct possibility that there is a mental link that is going on. The witnesses may not be aware of it, but when they have recurrent sightings under very unusual circumstances, it's very clear that that consciousness link is robust. Mind to mind. We're talking about telepathy of sorts. So, this is very exciting because the number of people on this planet who have a relationship with that intelligence, other than just having a simple sighting, may be profound. And when the time is right, I suspect many of us who have had one sighting only will start having additional ones, and there'll be other manifestations of communication. So a sighting is a manifestation of contact, and we should not ignore the excitement that people experience when large numbers of people have sightings. This is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about, Dr. Burke, this topic before, where people have to be open to the phenomenon of extraterrestrial intelligence and sightings. You have to be open, meaning that welcoming that in. If you're not open to even seeing a UFO and you're closed off or you don't believe they exist, then you're never going to one, that type of thing. So what you're saying is directly what we've been talking about and others have talked about, so we're definitely with you on that. Now, you're coming from a background which people have with Dr. Greer and with the free organization, where they're really putting some science and technology and other things behind this phenomenon. But let's be real, let's face it, the phenomenon of extraterrestrial presence goes back as long as history goes back. All the ancients knew about this stuff. All the ancients had contact, and that proof is everywhere. So what do you give us a little background on Free's research and other research on the history of extraterrestrial and the UFO phenomenon?
I think you're on a very important topic, and that is the way in which UFO intelligence has manifested throughout our history. But I think we have to be cautious in talking about this because although there's tremendous evidence pointing in that direction, proof is a tricky subject. It may be convincing for some people and not others. But the reason why we have to be cautious is because in a certain sense we're playing with fire. And the UFO intelligence has a tremendous impact on the belief systems of our planet. If what we're saying is true, then the question arises, did all the major faiths that were founded as well as the way people are not prepared for. It can do great psychological harm. Of people. So this is something that's going to have to be introduced only over decades, but probably generations, maybe even centuries.
And I totally understand. It's definitely a touchy situation when you have, millions and billions of followers of certain religion. So it's definitely a touchy topic. But when you look back at a lot of evidence, there is plenty to question on the history and how long the humankind and civilization has been here. So very interesting topic to say the least. Now, in the search for extraterrestrial activity, Dr. Burkes, we have the Free Foundation. If you could, you're involved with that. Give us an update on where Free is at and some of the stuff that they're doing actively, talking to people that have had encounters.
Now, Free's work is of tremendous importance. And it has to do with the absence of solid evidence, good studies among experiencers. The term experiencer should be defined as all our terms, really, because an experiencer to me is someone who has either had a close encounter of the third or fourth kind. A person who has seen a being, or a person who has memories of being on board craft. This is very important because in our culture, contact is seen as something really bizarre, as strange, and many people are coming away with different stories. The media has focused on the more frightful aspects, the so-called alien abduction experience. And experiencers would also include people like myself. I have not necessarily seen a being, but people that I work with in the contact network have such memories of onboard experiences. Dr. Greer is certainly an example of that. There are countless others who have had these memories. For some of us, they're very disturbing. Those people are designated abductees. But the reality is we really don't know what an abduction is. And this is the point that was made by one of the leading experts in the field, John Mack, who was a psychiatrist at Harvard, and I worked with him in the peace movement back in the 80s. I met him in Moscow in 1985 at a doctor's peace meeting. And Dr. Mack, when he got involved with the experiencers phenomena, he made that important point that we don't really know how much of an abduction is physical, is mental. These are primarily psychic experiences that have some physical components. And so Free, by doing a large survey with experiencers, is getting a solid database and is very open to this question, and they're asking very open-ended questions. The major complaints, hypnotherapy, or I should say hypnotic regressions, because there's a question in your mind how much therapy is going on. The problem with hypnosis is that people are placed in a very highly suggestible state, and if they have vague memories, the hypnotist can lead them down the garden path, the primrose path, to a very fearful analysis of what they've experienced. So the whole UFO so-called abduction field is full of what I believe is misinformation. And the Freeze project to interview in depth hundreds of experiencers is a very important one, to build a database on solid grounds using methodological approaches, which are soft science at least, but important psychological science and surveys of experiencers. So that's the major thrust of Free at this point, but it's also a support network. And this is something that I've been involved in, not so much with experiencers who are frightened by their contacts, but with contact activists, people who are part of what is called the CE5 initiative, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, people like myself who use meditation techniques and go out into the field and interact with the intelligence under fieldwork conditions. Even under those situations, people become fearful. My work with fellow contact activists, or I call them contact worker, I prefer that term over contact. My work with them is to reassure them, to give them support as a physician and as a healer, and to assist them to go forward in the work of engaging this intelligence in a proactive, conscious fashion. Are you with me?
And I think you're absolutely right, Dr. Burkes, when you talk about a conscious and pure action, because there is a lot of fear and a lot of programming that has been given to people throughout the years that these ETs are dangerous and they're here to attack us and they're here to take over. And I'm sure you know there are malevolent and benevolent beings. What do you say to the chatter and the talk about all these negative, evil ETs out there?
You know, there's a lot of testimony in terms of people describing what sounds like horrific encounters, but are these physical or are they mental? Is it theater of the mind? People, what happens if most of what we call abductions are psychic phenomena? People don't often go anywhere. They find themselves in the same bed, the same place. There may be a little mark on their body, and then they have many memories of what they imagine were onboard experiences. What if this intelligence can stage virtual reality? Any physical events. For people who are fans of the movies, what about that film Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger's blockbuster film back in the 90s, where the storyline is that artificial memories can be created. You know, if UFO intelligence can create screen memories that block our memory of the contact, and then through hypnosis or spontaneous recall, we recall these things, what happens if the memories themselves are simply implanted into our consciousness? Now, I know this is very frightening to people because we're all using our part to create a reality is something that technologically very well may be doing. So I think overcoming the fear is to acknowledge the limitations of our knowledge about this phenomena and to keep an open mind. None of the teams that I've ever been on, any of our people have ever been hurt on at least a dozen occasions. Bona fide UFOs and structured objects that defy the laws of aviation as we know them. So keep an open mind. My guess is that the tendency for dualism, good ET and bad ET, is probably not accurate. My guess is that people are having going away with contact experiences with positive and negative impressions, and the free study, by studying a large number of people, will help sort out in a broader way the overall picture of what's going on. I hope that answers some of your concerns on the subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, with the experiences.
We may have lost.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me? We're having some.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties with Skype. I'm not sure what's happening, but
loud and clear.
Yeah, it does make sense. We have sightings on both ends, malevolent and benevolent. There's definitely a phenomenon happening. There's definitely ancient talk about visitors. So there's definitely an open discussion and forum that there should be, and Free is really leading the way by interviewing and documenting so many people. I've had Ray Hernandez on the show. I met Ray years ago when he first awoken himself down in Miami at his house, and many others, Greer and so many other people. I definitely believe that there has to be an international discussion and forum on this topic, and I think many countries that have opened up their files, like Mexico and some European countries that have opened up their UFO files, even the Canadian retired defense minister going on national TV saying that there are entities in and out of our dimensions here. They've been in contact with them. You have to look at all this evidence and really wonder and be open to it. Where do you see the future of this topic of disclosure going, Dr. Burkes? Do you see it happening? Do you see it years down the line? Do you think it's very close?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wishful thinking and hype around the question of disclosure. And unfortunately, much of the discussion has been in a very kind of, in medicine we use the term codependence to describe the relationship between people who have someone in their family who are ill and their inability to acknowledge the steps that need to be done. And I think that the wish is, for many of the people who discuss disclosure, is that there will be some kind of authority figure, the president or the Pope or the United Nations, who is going to open up the books and reveal all the secrets about the UFO intelligence that the governments have. The reality is that these UFO phenomena is most closely studied not by governments, but probably by corporate entities that have, in a certain sense, taken over this issue from the legitimate, duly appointed authorities. And so tremendous secrecy is being maintained under the cover of corporate patent rights and corporate secrecy. So the idea that the president can come forward with the information is not totally accurate, because unfortunately the president has been usurped, in my judgment, in my reading of the subject, by powerful control groups that exist as agents of oligarchies, the most powerful people on the planet. A UFO presence threatens all terrestrial elites, and we should acknowledge this as going forward, demanding disclosure, that religions are threatened, organized religions, by UFOs for the reasons we outlined. Industrialists are threatened by UFOs because their propulsion systems don't involve the burning of fossil fuels. Politicians are concerned about UFOs because if it's required that we have one planet, one people, world unity based on social justice to relate to these what appear to be extraterrestrial civilizations, if that's a precondition for contact, and it's known to the people of the world that's a precondition, we're going to sweep away all the corrupt politicians and establish the rule of order and peace on this planet. So UFOs have an ideological threat to the existing power structure, as well as some very practical ones, as we've described. So I think the real disclosure is going to be from the people. When I was in the peace movement, we said when the people lead, the leaders will follow. So by having thousands and perhaps hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of people in a proactive way forming a social movement to interact with these intelligence, following the guidelines of the CE5 initiative or the group Rama, which was established 16 years before CSETI was, Dr. Greer's network, by following the principles of these very courageous people who are putting aside their fears and engaging directly with this intelligence on a proactive basis, that will be the disclosure. And it will not unfold with the cooperation of the National Security Agency, the American Manufacturers Association. The Catholic Church has been less oppositional, more open and progressive, but they are not going to lead. The people are going to lead.
That's a really great perspective, Dr. Burkes, because there's a lot of truth to that. The people are the ones that really are going to have to come together. When you look at the California UFO phenomenon that happened last week. I had someone on my show who was there, who saw it, who witnessed it right there from ground zero, right in Los Angeles, and thousands of people saw it. So I think the more and more phenomenons that happen, the more and more people are waking up and open to it. And, you can't tell your own eyes you didn't see something. So as these phenomenons and sightings continue, it gives more, grounding to groups like Free and MUFON and CSETI that are all, taking the path of bringing this and awareness to the people. And then, of course, bringing in the scientists and the people that really can document and make it real and add validity to it, because a lot of people are still closed to this topic, and a lot of people, shut off the ET alien phenomenon right away. So it's going to take, like you said, some time for the people to really wake up and be open and learn more about it, because you have to educate the people as well. So I'm definitely with you on that. Now, if you can, Dr. Burke, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left. Can you give out some resources and some sites and things like that where people can read more about it, can get involved with Free, and maybe give out some references as well to some of the topics and stuff we talked about?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, anyone who's got a computer can access any of these important organizations, whether it be Free. Free is no longer on the web. They're rebuilding the website, but if you're on Facebook, there's resources there. And MUFON, definitely, my membership just lapsed this week. I'm going to put in my $35. I'll be urging everyone else to join MUFON. Because MUFON is an international organization that has tremendous experience in investing sightings. And if you've had a sighting, you should report to MUFON or one of the other reporting agencies. As far as science playing a role, my guess is that they will not play such a predominant role, except in the soft sciences, psychology and sociology, because this intelligence chooses the time and place when it's going to have encounters with us. So hoping that science is going to lead, I think, is not realistic. It's going to be the people. It'll be a social movement type of model where we will have a relationship with the intelligence behind the phenomena. And studying relationships is something psychologists do. But in terms of the actual physical scientists, until we have teams of people actually going on board ET craft and having communication directly with them, we're going to be dealing with things that are shadowy and mysteries. So I would encourage people to join the CE5 initiative. There's a very important group which we haven't mentioned, ET Let's Talk. That's put out by Costa Macrius. And Costa's group has every month a worldwide contact initiative where people meditate in their own homes or at groups. And several thousand people are doing this the Saturday closest to the dark of the moon. So if you want to get involved, these are some of the resources that you can get involved with. But it's going to be the people, not the scientists, not the authority figures that are going to make the difference.
Excellent, great. And Dr. Burke, where can people find out more information on yourself? Do you have a website, a blog, information you want to give out for anyone that would like to follow up on your work?
My website is also being rebuilt. If people have Facebook, they can check out Contact Underground. They should also get the book, where 50 pages of that book are describing my personal contact experiences, Paths to Contact, edited by Jeff Becker. So again, these are very important resources. Paths to Contact, available on Amazon, and as well as Facebook and the other resources I mentioned.
Excellent, great. And I know for all the listeners out there, again, we always urge people, Dr. Burkes, to check this information out yourself. Do your due diligence. See what resonates with you. Don't listen to what we say. This is the knowledge